Welcome everybody to the PC-alvy show. I am Alvy, and I am your host. I have experience since 1986 in computers, way back in the disk operating system, or DOS days, all the way through to the current days of Windows. So I've got a lot to talk about. And so I'm going to talk about that today as far as the opening show goes. I'm not going to have a series that is sequential. I'm going to have topics, and each video is going to be named for that topic because it's not going to necessarily be meant to be watched sequentially, more so on the topics that you want to cover. You can watch those videos, and if it's a video topic doesn't please you, then don't watch it by all means. This is for those who do not have the knowledge, and I'm going to speak plain and clean English so that people can understand their computers better, whether they be laptops or PCs. I would like to say now, this is not for any Apple Jacks or Apple jockeys out there. This is a PC or Windows world, and I will be discussing some of the good old days of DOS just as a point of reference and appreciation at some points here in the show. So today, the basic components of a computer and what not to buy if you don't even have one yet. What to consider over other things. All of that coming right up. Thank you for watching the PC-alvy Show, Episode 1. In the PC world today, you have smartphones, which predominantly run on Android or iOS, but I'm not going to be talking about Apple again. You have tablets, mini tablets and large-sized tablets as well, which also run on Android predominantly, and you do have some Windows tablets out there from Surface. There's also laptops and desktops still, and I want to tell you that unless you have incredible eyes, you're going to have some strain using your smartphone as your main computer all the time, and it's very limited compared to what an actual full desktop or even a tablet can do. Tablets are great as well, except when something breaks and then you have to return the whole tablet with, if that's your only device, no other means of getting on the internet or doing what you need to do. There's also that same problem with laptops. They're great for mobility and getting around, but there's several problems. The wrist stops, where you rest your wrists for laptops, the keys are small enough, and it's hard to type on them for long periods of time. A lot of the younger kids are just used to it, but if you're an older folk like me, 35 or older, you're going to have a hard time typing for long periods of time on a laptop, unless you bring your own keyboard and mouse, which is what I always do when using a laptop. Also, you do have the problem that if any part of the laptop fails, you're going to have to turn in the whole laptop for repairs if that's something you don't do yourself or have a friend that does. You still have to turn in the whole laptop to them. Now, desktops have different options, and you can swap out hard drives if one of the hard drives is bad or something, or you need something looked at. You can have spare parts laying around and replace the parts that are damaged as you go. And it's a much smarter and much more powerful means of computing. Now, a lot of people don't even scrape the iceberg, the top of the iceberg at all with the power of the computer that they have, because most people just do light surfing and emailing, and that's about it, looking at videos or Netflix, And none of that takes a great deal of power. I would suggest no less than 8 gigs of RAM for something like that. But if you're going to get into any serious computing endeavors or gaming, you want to have at the very least 16 gigs of RAM. Or a fair amount is 12. Dell's got a nice machine out with 12 right now for just around $600 at Best Buy. You also want to look at the idea of you can have a solid-state drive SSD running your operating system and then have your files on the hard drive itself, the spinning disk. Or you can have your operating system and all your files on the spinning hard drive if you do not want a RAM drive, basically is what an SSD is, running just your operating system. Now, RAM runs much faster than programs run off of the hard drive. And when the entire program's in RAM, it is just amazingly faster. And all of this stuff you can do pretty much with laptops, but a bit harder than it is to get done with desktop computing. And I'm a huge proponent of full desktop computing. I'm sorry about all you mobile people. That's great. You like to be mobile and get out there. That's all fine. There's plenty of people who do reviews about smartphones and tablets and things like that. And this is not what this is about. This is for people who want a computer to do just about everything and run all avenues of their entertainment and business life. So, your basic computer components are next. Basic computer parts. The components of a computer are the computer tower itself or desktop console, the monitor or smart TV, the keyboard and the mouse, and sometimes a printer, and of course speakers for sound. Now, a few things to consider these days. Computers out of the box, for general purposes, still use the RGB monitor hookup for computer monitors. Now, if you're buying a gaming console or a computer that specifically states that it has a graphics card already built into it, you will most likely actually have HDMI output, and you can use a smart television and use the sound right out of the television. It's not the best compared to having a sound system with your computer, but if you're trying to get a functional computer together on a budget, it's something to consider. You can buy a TV for about as much as you can buy a monitor, and since TVs have high def now, there is an actual match to the quality of a computer monitor versus a television, and you also have the advantage that it is a TV. When you get really bored or your computer is overloaded with stuff to do, you can switch the input channel over to the television and watch some TV. And a lot of smart TVs have Roku and Netflix and Hulu built into them. So that's something to consider with the sound there. As far as building a basic system that is functional right out of the box, not having to buy too many components, but you will eventually want to use a sound system and experience what that can do for you, especially if you're an audiophile. Not everybody the audio is as big of a deal for, but to a lot of people it is. So there you have the basic components of the computer, and I will talk about each separately now. For keyboards, you pretty much get the same deal all the way around. The difference is with gaming. If you are gaming, you do not necessarily want a wireless keyboard. Although a lot of people do use them, there is some degree of latency, which is a delay between when you press a key and what comes up on the screen. For most users who aren't into high-end gaming or just trivial gaming, which is like card games and parlor games, things like that, and Farmville, then you should be fine with a wireless keyboard. But if you're into super high efficiency, you definitely want to have a wired keyboard and a wired mouse as well. The same thing, the mouse, the wireless mouse have some degree of latency to them, whereas the wired ones do not. And about all you can get now is an optical mouse. They used to have mouses with wheels in them, but that is no longer a thing. Printers, you have laser printers, which are color and black and white laser printers, and you have DeskJet printers now. Here is the deal with printers. Unless you're in a business that prints out a lot of paper, you're going to want to go with the DeskJet all-in-one. It's the only time I ever tell anyone to get an all-in-one, because you're going to want to scan items. And it's the only way to get a scanner these days anyway. They used to have scanners that were by themselves. Now they're all in one with the printers. So that's one thing that's kind of hard to avoid. If you're going to be scanning photos and documents, you're going to want to go ahead and get an all-in-one scanner and printer. Here's the deal. You can get them from $38 to $48 at Walmart. You do the math and look at the ink first. Look at what kind of ink the printer takes, because the ones in the box are half full. Look at the actual ink on the shelf. Look at the prices. Look at the availability. Make sure that your printer has ink on the shelf that you can buy because it's going to be a pain if you have to order it online anyhow. But once you look at this, you're going to figure out what I did. It's the same thing with shaving razors. The printer itself is cheaper to buy and just use the installed ink than it is to buy new ink. Same thing with shaving razors, you know. It's easier to buy a brand new shaving razor than it is to buy the cartridges for it. So this is something to actually look out for, and don't take my word for it. As soon as you go into the store, look at the ink, do the math, you know. And there's wireless printers everywhere, which are a lot of fun. Just remember that anything going over your wireless network can be hacked and can be seen by others. If you use a USB cord with your printer only, you cannot go afoul and have anything hacked out of that transmission from your computer to your printer. However, like I said, the wireless stuff is all fun and good, but you got to be careful, especially if you're someone who likes your anonymity. It will be over your Wi-Fi network, and people can hack that. Not likely and not probable, but it is possible. And so, I've talked about monitors and sound. Speakers, you want to go with something that's got a subwoofer bass unit and at least 2 extra speakers for very decent sound. You can go all out and get a 5.1 or a 7.1 surround sound system, and most people that do that for their computer are gamers. And in that case, I don't have to tell you what to buy. This show is for people just starting out with computers and learning as they go. So there you have the monitors and the sound, keyboards and mice. I like it wired myself. I don't like latency. I don't like having to end up one night running to the store to buy more batteries. I've always kept my keyboard and mouse ready to go because I did use a wireless for a while and I got really tired of it and went back to a wired keyboard and mouse format. And the only other type of device I use is a graphics tablet from Wacom. And you can use that if you're an artist to draw pictures directly onto the computer using a pen like a real human being does, instead of trying to draw stuff with a mouse, which most people can't do very well to save their life. Even good artists have trouble with that. You should have seen the first painting Andy Warhol did on the apple that he saw. It was crazy. But at any rate, there you have the different components of the computer. Now, there are older desktop consoles, but for the most part, you're going to run into a tower or a mid-tower. And there are some slimline cases as well out there. You want to make sure that you are familiar with your computer case, what form factor it is, which means the style of the motherboard inside of it. I will be showing you all about this later. I will be going over the components of the actual CPU or tower itself on another video. But at this rate, I just want to say that there are several different styles of cases. There are some with air cooling, which you do need if you're going to do intense gaming. You need an air conditioning system. There's fan-based and there's water-based air conditioning systems and coolants for the computers that are out there. And a lot of the good ones are in Alienware. They have some excellent gaming rigs as well. But I'm just letting you know there are different types of cases. And inside the cases where the computer itself lives, which is a motherboard and its other parts. And it speaks to all the other devices that you have hooked into it. But inside the computer exists the motherboard, and inside the motherboard exists the CPU, the actual computer itself, the central processing unit. I hope all of that was easy enough to follow. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. The link is in the description to the video. And if you're on Facebook, you can look up Alvin Boyette and join the PC-alvy show group. It's free to join. It's not a closed group. And I will be having many videos of different kinds, giving computer advice and talking about different kinds of software and rating it, and videos from other people as well. And you can ask me anytime, any question you want at the help desk. and that is what that's for. If you're on Twitter, you can also tweet and send a direct message to me on Twitter, and I will act as a help desk for you and try to do my best to help answer your questions. Thank you very much for watching. This has been the PC-alvy Show. More details later. I'm open for questions and concerns.